Alright folks, in this lesson you are going to be introduced to the process of creating scratchboard art. Now what scratchboard art is, a scratchboard in itself, a scratchboard is a hard piece of cardstock paper. It is very thick, that is covered over the top with a layer of India ink. So you've got this dark black coating over the top of the paper, and through the use of your dry point tools, you go into the surface of that India ink. You scratch away the black. That way you can expose the white color that is underneath. So what this process is going to lead you into the etching style of printmaking that we'll be getting into for a few weeks. But before we get into etching, I just want to give all of you enough practice with the tools, with the different types of mark making that you're going to use in order to create your designs. So to start off with, the first thing that you need to know as far as the tools that you're going to use. There's two different types of dry point tools that you can use. The first one is the fine detailed dry point needle. So this is the needle that comes to that super sharp triangular tip. This is the tool that you're going to use to get fine lines and fine details. The other dry point needle that you have access to is the needle that has a slight curve along the side. This needle is used to go in and to scratch away large areas of the India ink to expose the white underneath. So your task for this assignment, everybody is going to start off with a small square of the scratchboard, as well as a large rectangle of the scratchboard. So what you are going to do is you are going to come up with a design on your small piece of scratchboard, and that design can be anything that you want. I'm not going to give you a prompt on this initial piece. I want you to gravitate towards the style of art that you usually fall into. Go towards something that makes you feel a little bit comfortable with this process. That way you're not having to go in and figure out anything brand new on what to draw, because I'm already going to be hitting you with enough new techniques that we don't need to go in and start trying to figure out how to draw a specific object or a specific thing that you want to draw realistically. So in this piece, I'm entitling this "The Attack of the Kraken." You've got your ocean waves. You've got the tentacles of the Kraken coming up. You've got the little boat on the side with the person pointing up to it, and then it's kind of, I guess it's apocalyptic a little bit. You got a volcano back in the back. Everything's exploding up. This is just what came out of my brain hole, and that is absolutely totally fine. Now with this process, what I'm going to teach you is how to use 3 different mark making techniques to be able to go in and create a full range of values. Now, the first mark making technique that we're going to focus on is the process that you can see here that is called 100%. This is straight hatching. So what hatch marks do is when you come into the hatch marks, you want to use your fine detailed dry point needle. You can go in, and what you're going to find is as you start this process of going in and doing the scratchboards, that number one, it takes very little pressure to be able to go in and scratch away the surface of the India ink to expose the white paper underneath. I am barely pressing down with this at all. So what this does is the lighter you press, the more control you're going to get. If you go down and if you bear too hard, if you're applying too much pressure when you scratch, what's going to end up happening is you're going to actually dig into the paper, and it's going to cause rips. It's going to make your paper look not as clean as what you want it to look like. So with hatch marks, You're going to go in, you can come in and you can start outlining whatever design it is that you're looking for. You can actually come in on top of the scratchboard using a 2H pencil. With that 2H pencil, remember the H stands for hardness. That means that this pencil is going to draw very, very light lines. So you can very, very lightly come in and you can barely see these lines that I'm drawing on the scratchboard through the camera, and that's okay. That's exactly what you want. You barely want to see this. If I come in, I'm going to just do this right here. I'm going to crank down super hard. Check it out. You can see that I am getting a little bit of a tear. You can see that white coming through. If you decide to come in with your pencil and lightly sketch your design onto the surface of your scratchboard, as long as you're coming in lightly with a 2H and not cranking down or bearing down too hard onto the surface, you'll be able to put lines in there without scratching the surface or ruining that black area. Now with hatch marks are all about going in and using your lines to create a full range of values just by coming in and drawing lines that are parallel to each other. The closer the lines get to each other, the lighter the value is going to be. The further away from each other these lines get, the darker the value is going to be. So a lot of this is going to be reminiscent of your work with pen and ink in intermediate art, specifically coming in with that hatch work. So hatches, if you're going in and you're using your hatch making, mark making technique, you're only doing one set of lines that are coming through. I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see those details of what I'm putting in just a little bit better. Hatch marks are one set of lines. Cross-hatching, on the other hand, which is your second style of mark-making techniques, if hatch marks go only in one direction, cross-hatching creates an X. So as you cross-hatch or cross your hatches over the top, you're scratching away more of your surface to get more of your lights. And as you build that cross-hatching technique up, coming in, I'm being really controlled with how I'm going in and applying my lines, because with scratchboards, once you scratch away, it's really hard to fix. So you want to use that control. You want to go in and really control the areas that you're going in and scratching away to create those white and dark values. So as I'm coming in, I'm going to go in, I'm going to use a little bit more cross-hatching. I love cross-hatching because the amount of control that you can get as far as your gradient values and your gradient fades, it creates an aesthetic that I really love. And you can see the cross-hatching in my Attack of the Kraken. I've got my hatch marks up in parts of the clouds up on the top. I've got hatch marks that are coming up on the volcano that's erupting. I've got some hatch marks that are coming over in here. But you also see the sense of cross-hatching, how different levels or different areas are being brought out to create a variety of different values coming through. So hatch marks are really nice to be able to get nice, good, even modeling. Or cross-hatching is good for even modeling. Hatch marks are good to create contrast, to show just a little bit of a lighter gray coming back. So it's really all about that control. The third mark making technique that I want you to use is a process that is called scrumbling. And scrumbling is very similar to your circular shading that you use with pencils. You're coming in and instead of using straight lines that go in one direction, I'm actually coming in and I'm starting to scribble a little bit. But it's still that same process. The more I overlap these marks that I'm creating, the lighter the value is going to be. The more I stretch that out and I don't overlap it, the darker the value is going to end up being. So your job is, we're going to come in and complete this. I decided that I wanted to make a skeleton key for some reason. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. It's what ended up coming out of this. So your job on your small piece of scratchboard is to come in and to create a design of whatever it is that you want to create a design on. I'm not going to point you in any direction on that. That is completely 100% student choice. What I do require for this assignment is you've got to create a full range of values. On this little 2.5 by 3.5 inch square, I do want to see brilliant, brilliant bright whites. I want to see a variety of grays, meaning areas that are completely scratched away, a little bit of layering so you get mostly scratched away, and then areas that are hardly scratched away at all. So when I talk about a full range of values, look at how lightly I'm scratching here. Very, very lightly, but look at those details that I'm able to get to come through. So a full range of values, blacks, whites, and a variety of grays using 3 different mark making techniques. I want to see areas where we've got scrumbling coming through. I want to see areas with cross hatching. I want to see areas with regular hatching. Those are the things that I'm looking for with that full range of values. Once you get your design on this large or on this small piece done, then you're going to move on to the large rectangular piece of a scratchboard. And your task with this rectangular piece is to use, here I'm going to bring this up just a little bit more so you can see the entire design. You are going to use whatever you put for your design on the small piece, that is going to be inspiration for your large piece. So I'm coming in and I'm doing the Attack of the Kraken, great big tentacles and floating in the ocean. On this large piece, I'm just coming in and I'm just focusing directly on the tentacles, drawing the ocean to come through. I'm not asking you to recreate this. I want something in this design to transfer over onto this design. What the big thing that I'm looking for on your large piece is think of this almost as a value scale. I want one edge of your design to be black, and then as you transfer over up onto the top, you want that other edge to be mostly white, so that you're creating that white on black contrast. When it comes into scraping away large areas of white, this is where this larger dry point knife is going to come in handy. Because look at how quickly I can come in and scratch away large areas of that black to expose that white. You come in and you use this one to clean up most of it, and then you're going to go in with your detailed piece, and this is where cross-hatching is going to come in. This is where you're going to be able to start to create that natural gradient value coming down on the side. Watch how I do this. It's super quick. That repeated motion of drawing those hatched lines to come through, but the further down that I go, I am coming in and I'm spacing this out. I got a little bit of paint on that scratchboard. It's a little weird right there, but that's okay. So that the further down I go, the fewer lines that we're able to see. That's how you're going to go in to start to get that sense of gradient values and fades to hit.